Hello. The video you are about to see contains images of dolls only.
Hello everybody.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
I know you're seeing us with the child dolls 2-3 days in a row, and we won't always be doing this, I do promise, but there is a reason, isn't there, Bea?
There is, because we're doing a collaboration today with Nicole's Little Ones channel.
Absolutely. And there is a reason we're doing this. It was a comment that got made on Nicole's channel when she introduced her delicious little girl, Jilly, who is actually the same sculpt as Jack here. And by the way, if you don't know them, if you're sort of seeing this for the first time and you're not sure who they are, Brian is holding Lacey, our reborn child daughter, and she is Reba Schick's Angelica sculpt. And I am holding Jack, who is at the moment my beamish boy, my pride and joy. I just love him. He's the centre of my world. And he is the Apple Valley Chris sculpt. And so Nicole has Jilly, and she's also the Apple Valley Chris sculpt.
She's lovely as well.
And she's lovely as well. And so Nicole had a comment on her channel from somebody who said, between you, that is Nicole, and Lulu, you've almost sold us on having a child doll. So I kind of thought it would be nice for us both to talk about what it's like, the ins and outs, the pros and cons of owning a child doll, and things that you might not know that might be points of interest, because there's a lot in owning one if you want to do more with it than just look at it. So this is called 5 Things You May Not Know About Owning a Child Doll. So Mr. B is going to take us through the points. I've noted them down so I won't forget what I'm saying or cross over into Nicole's territory.
Okay, I will do my best.
And he's also going to add things if he feels like it.
Oh.
Jack, your foot is turned over, buddy. Turn it over properly. There you are. So, start us off, Mr.
Are we okay? Yes. So, having a child doll doesn't have to cost the earth, does it?
No, it doesn't. When you maybe think of a child doll, you might think of someone like Lacey there. Now, she did cost the earth. She cost a lot of money. She was custom made. She is, as I said, the Reba Schick Angelica sculpt. She was custom made by one of the really, really good artists in the UK, who, you know, is quite expensive and deservedly so. So she took 2 years to save for. But Jack here, the kit was bought from Apple Valley, and I think the full kit is on sale now for about $89. I bought the insides for the stuffing and waiting supplies from Tinkerbell Creations, which cost me about another maybe 60 or 70. The wig and any other little things maybe cost another 30. So if you know what you're doing, maybe you could have your own child doll for $250, something like that, which is, you know,
it's very reasonable, isn't it?
Very reasonable. Even if you wanted to get somebody you trusted to make one for you and they had to ship the parts from Apple Valley, it certainly still wouldn't cost as much as having a full reborn sculpt like Angelica, Alenka, or any of the other wonderful reborn child dolls out there. What I'm saying is, yes, I know the Apple Valley dolls are very different to a reborn doll in some ways, and slight compromises have to be made. Well, I'll go into the reasons why I'm not finding having an Apple Valley doll a compromise at all. But if you want a child doll that isn't going to cost £1,000 and more, there are reasons why it can be done. So, yeah, it doesn't have to cost the earth. It really doesn't. So, anything else to add, Mr. B?
No, I don't think so. Only that they both have their strengths and weaknesses, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Lacey is absolutely gorgeous in her own way. The more money that you put into them, you're going to get maybe different qualities out of them.
Yes.
Now then, there are ways to give a child doll lots of poseability, aren't there? And also lots of cuddliness as well.
Yeah. My experience of actually helping to make Jack and to put Jack together has taught me that all the child dolls I've ever seen, and ever seen on YouTube even, have legs from the knee upwards that are just stuffed. And these are what Lacey's are. She does have a little bit of wire armature at the tops of them, but they're very small, and quite honestly they don't do much of anything. They certainly don't help her, because the weight of her legs pulls down and makes her really quite a pother to pose. And it's one of the reasons why we bought her wheelchair, which helps her an awful lot and supports her feet. But since putting Jack together, I really do think that having an armature in a child doll's legs, if you're going to have a reborn child doll, a full reborn child doll, is a really good idea, because it just gives so much in the way of poseability and the way of supporting a child doll's very weighty legs, and making sure that he or she isn't pulled out of whatever chair she's sitting in and ending up slouching. We always had to, remember when Lacey was sitting in that big chair, we always had to crook one of her legs up.
That's right.
Because otherwise she just would not sit, whatever we did with her. And Jack has a full body armature so that his whole body and his arms and legs are flexible. He sits on my knees. You can see his legs are bendy. His arms are bendy. They're lovely and flexible. As you can hear, they creak a bit, but that's just part of what having an armature is. I could bend him a lot more if I wanted to, but I don't particularly want to do that. But he is, he's very, very poseable. And it also means that he can support his own weight and stand up. He can kneel. He can sit back on his heels. He can stand on one leg if I wanted him to. He can crawl. He can do all kinds of amazing stuff. And the armature that Nicole and I both really like comes from dollsbysandy.com. I'm sure I've got that right. And she has both the full body armatures, which work for a doll as tall as Jack is. He's 39 inches. And you can also build the armatures, because she sells them in separate pieces. You'd need to use a tool. But she sells the armature in separate pieces, I think I'm right in saying. So if I was going to take Lacey apart and do things to her, and the idea has crossed our minds, when Nicole comes back home we might make it an undertaking, I would certainly want to put armature in Lacey's legs to give her a bit more poseability. I love the fact that Lacey is lovely and soft and cuddly from the waist down. I remember getting her and saying to Ellie, who made her for me, I wasn't expecting her to be this cuddly. It's a great thing to have a child doll that you can hug and cuddle. But Jack is even cuddlier because he is full body, he's all stuffed, he has half arms and half legs. Obviously that means a compromise. He can't wear short sleeves, he can't wear short trousers. Personally, we live in such a climate that I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me. And I love that soft holdability, that cuddleability. It just makes him really gorgeous to hold. And it's really, really endears him to me. So, yeah, lots of cuddleability, lots of poseability in a child doll. You just have to decide what you want most, whether you want the really fine detailing that you can get with the all vinyl top half. With, you know, Lacey can wear strappy party dresses. Jack could never do. You know, if I had a girl, child doll like this, I could never put a strappy dress on her. It just wouldn't work. Or somebody that you could really hug and cuddle, but would always have to wear long sleeves.
All right, shall we move on to the next one then? If you like to role play with pictures or video, a child doll will take that to a whole new level, won't it? The possibilities really do just open up and stretch out.
Well, of course, role play doesn't just have to be for pictures or video. We do plenty of it just here on our own, don't we?
We do.
Do you want to talk a bit about that? Because you got dragged kicking and screaming into role play, didn't you?
Yes, I mean, often we will talk to Lacey and Jack, won't we? Not just on the videos, but about all sorts of different things. That was happening this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think it makes my heart so happy when I hear you saying good morning to them when you come in here in the mornings, or when you've got to move Lacey because you need to get to something at the computer, and you say something sweet to her. And it makes my heart so happy. Doing baby things, I used to get frustrated when I was trying to plan things to do with videos because I have to stay indoors. I can't take the camera out. And you feed them, you change them. You feed them, you change them. You know, there's not much else you can do with a baby. When you have a child doll, there are so many things you can do. And there are so many great child doll videos on YouTube. There have been some wonderful child dolls. A lot of what we've done has been audio only, because it's awkward for us to move about and to do the editing to make things look convincing. So what we have to do is sit them on our laps and think of interesting things to do with them, hence the weekend surprises thing. But if you can see to edit and you can see to film with the child dolls, school books and morning routines and night routines and meals and playing and all kinds of cool things can happen. You know, a child doll role play just goes on and on and on. There's all kinds of fun. The toys you can get for them. You just want to buy the world for them. If you love them, you just want to buy the world for them. It's just, you want to buy the world for them.
I was just going to can I just say a couple of things here?
Please.
Okay, because, yes, I do want to buy the world for Lacey, particularly. And almost by accident, a Sophia Castle almost got bought yesterday. If I hadn't been more careful and checked, it would have been. The other thing I wanted to say was that the good thing about audio, and this is on the subject of roleplay, is that through the Magic Memory Sundays, we have been able to take Lacey to all kinds of places that you just couldn't do with pictures. I'm thinking like the horse and carriage that she had.
Yes, and Lapland.
And
Don't forget Lapland.
Yes, that's right. That happened last Christmas. You could never do that in real film, but with audio and with role play and playing with your reborn child dolls, the sky is the limit, really. Absolutely,
absolutely. Well, who says he wants to take her in a real horse and carriage next birthday?
I do think that is a possibility, actually. I had seriously considered it.
You're so lovely, honestly. But yeah, roleplay is just, and clothes is another wonderful thing with child dolls. I love shopping. Look at Jack's new jumper. Hold your arms out a minute, Jack. Look at Jack's new jumper. It's grey and it's got cars and lorries on it in lovely bright colours. And he looks, actually, this fits him the best I've ever seen anything fit him since I got him. And he looks so fabulous in it, and Lacey's new white sweater dress is just fabulous on her. And I just love buying clothes for them. I love buying designer clothes. I haven't bought any designer clothes for Jack, and I don't know when I will now. But I love buying designer clothes for Lacey when we go away places. I just love shopping for the kids. I just love shopping for the kids. And I love saying that. I know they're not real kids. But to be able to say, I'm going to go shopping and buy a couple of things for the kids, it just makes my heart so happy. So yeah, roleplay is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it makes the heart so happy, and it's so much fun. Now sit up, Jack, your head's lolling, that's better.
Okay, if you want to make your child doll talk, there are lots of different ways to do it. They can be complicated, and they can use technical wizardry like we do, or on the other hand, they can be absolutely simple, like just changing your own voice. It really depends which way you want to do it.
Yes. When I first had Lacey, or when we first had Lacey, I used an app, and I'm very indebted to Sabrina, who has Reborn Child Spencer. Love My Reborn Baby, that's the channel. Because she actually did say that she used an app on her phone. I couldn't use that one because it's inaccessible, by which I mean that it doesn't work with VoiceOver, which is the kind of software on an iPhone that makes it talk. But I did find a voice changing app that did work, and by trial and error I found something. It was an old telephone sound to the voice that gave the tinny talking doll-like sound that I thought would be good for Lacey. And so I used that. But I actually needn't have used it. And when I thought that the voice changer was going to go obsolete because of the way that iPhones were changing, we actually changed to doing the voice through sort of technical wizardry and just pitching it up with computer software. And she sounds so much better now. So much better now, doesn't she? She
does. I wish we'd have done some of the early Magic Memory Sundays with the voice that she has now.
Oh, so
I really do. But there we go.
I don't think we'd have had the Toity.
I think there are things we could have done.
I don't think we would, because once she had the voice and could move around, Toity became obsolete. There wasn't any need to have those kind of very elaborate sound affected kind of scenarios when she could move around and do things for herself. It was because she was always in the same place that I felt the need to kind of invent those elaborate games, just because we needed something to do. But I don't think there would have been Toity if she, had been able to
well, now she can move around all over the
now
place.
She can move around all over the place.
Yes.
Except that her poor mummy can't bounce about like she used to, so she doesn't get to bounce about so much now. But anyway, never mind. But yes, the thing that I would say is important is that you can't just pitch up your voice and make it the wrong speed and expect it to sound like a child. That won't work. You really need to think of a way that you'd like a child to sound and do it to your own voice. Create a character, I mean. And Nicole will be touching more on this. And practice it and plan, or it isn't going to work.
I mean, if Brian just pitches my voice up now, it just sounds like me on the wrong speed. It doesn't sound like Lacey at all.
But if I do Lacey's voice at normal pitch, if Lacey says, "Hello everybody, Lacey Lou is back again. It's really, really good to be sitting on Daddy's lap because he's my best daddy and I really, really like him." Now that's just me. You can see my mouth moving and doing Lacey's voice. And if I say, "Dancing dinosaurs is cool. I like being in front of the camera 3 days in a row." Now that's Jack's voice. but it's not pitched up. It's just me. What makes Jack Jack and what makes Lacey Lacey isn't the fact that they're pitched up, although that really helps. It's the fact that I do a different voice for each of them.
And also there are lots of different, particularly with Lacey, different vocal tics that she has.
They both have vocal tics. Lacey, I modelled Lacey on my little sister when she was a child. She actually couldn't say her C's and G's until she was almost 7. She was unusual in that, but it happens to be a fact that she couldn't. So when I was thinking of Lacey's voice and what I could keep up for any length of time, I made it so that, you know, I made her sound like my little sister. I couldn't get Jack's voice for ages. I was terribly afraid I wouldn't be able to give him a voice. And then one day, when I was practicing voices with Nicole and I talk a lot on FaceTime, I suddenly went into Cockney. Do you remember this voice that I used to do for Mrs. Timmy Tumbles? Sorry, Mrs. Tommy Tumbles. That was Tippy Tumble's voice. And she was a Cockney. She was feisty. She was sharp. And she was bossy as heck. And I did it, but gave it a rough, husky croakiness to make it boyish and very high. And suddenly, I had Jack. And there he was. And I said, that's Jack. That's Jack. That's who he is. He's a little bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, you know, little Cockney boy. That's who he is. And that's who he is. So there's lots of ways you can make your child talk, whether by doing just a simple voice or by doing something technical.
Now then, on to the last one. A reborn child doesn't have to be confined to indoors. The garden is a great place for pictures if you want to take them out there, and for videos too if you have a reborn child.
The garden is a great place. If you have a garden, it's really, really cool to get your child out into the garden chair, sun lounger, all that kind of thing. It's really, really cool to be able to do videos and stuff outside. Obviously, if you've got real children and you've got playground equipment out there, that's even better. But now, lots of people might not be comfortable with getting a reborn child outside. They might be embarrassed, but if you're not, if you're like us and you really want to go out with your child, and we really wanted to get Lacey out, especially going on our holiday, because we don't like to leave her alone. That's just who we are. What we bought was a cheap paediatric wheelchair, wasn't it?
It was, yes. It was a good idea.
And we also found that it gave her a lot more support to those heavy floppy legs, which, you know, is better for her in the long term, because having the legs pulling on her body, you know, isn't good for her in the long term. So she sits there now. She has a lot better support for her legs and for her arms and for her back and for everything. So that's what we've got. That's what we take her out in. We did look at strollers, but there really wasn't one big enough to fit her. And the sort of child or adult strollers were just too expensive. So we bought a cheap paediatric wheelchair because a lot of the paediatric wheelchairs were demo only, and they were incredibly expensive. And we didn't need an expensive one, so we bought a cheap one. But it serves, it does its work, and it's great for taking Lacey.
It is a really good one.
It is, it's a nice one. The thing to remember about owning a reborn child is that it's an enormous amount of fun. It could be twice the work, because if you're making a reborn child, it's a handful, and moving them is a handful, and dressing them is a handful, and posing them can be a handful. It's obviously, if you're going for the full reborn child like Lacey, it's a lot of money. It's a considered investment. If you're going to make them talk, as Nicole will have told you, you invest in the character. You need to put some thought and imagination behind it. But it pays you back big time, doesn't it, B? It's more than twice the fun. It's
definitely
4 times, 8 times the fun of any baby you'll have ever owned. I would say, definitely. Having a reborn child It's just so much fun. I would never go back for £1 million. I wouldn't swap our Reborn children for anything, would you, Mr. Big?
No, they can have the characters you want them to have.
Yeah, and they never grow up. So, we will love you and leave you. Sorry this one was a bit long, but we had a lot we had to get in. We'll be back tomorrow with the comment roundup. I don't know who I'm going to have yet. I haven't decided.
Oh, okay.
But we will have the comment roundup. In the meantime, take care of yourselves.
And enjoy your Reborn children if you have them.
And if not, your babies.
Your babies.
And
let's be good to each other.
Bye-bye.
Bye.